When you read in the media about how EV sales are going from strength to strength and they're exceeding all expectations, there's one key detail that's always left out, and that is that the vast majority of EVs are sold on business leases to fleets and corporations. Businesses still want to look as if they're fully on board with sustainability and net zero by pushing their fleets and employees into buying EVs, which looks good for them by reducing their fleet emissions and good for the government because it artificially boosts the sales of EVs, making it appear as if the market is taking off, hoping to induce a false sense that if you're not in an EV, you're being left behind. Nothing could be further than the truth, of course. It's all smoke and mirrors. And while this sleight of hand might work in the short term, when you look further ahead, there's a massive financial cliff approaching, resulting directly from their abysmal residual values, which, as we've discussed before, translates into catastrophic depreciation. Not only are leasing firms getting very nervous because of the number of EVs on their books, but also the comparison between business and personal leases shows that the claimed surge in EV sales is, as usual with net zero, pure spin. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. I'm only a few hundred away from 100,000 subscribers, which is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you so much for your support of this channel. So if you're one of the majority of my viewers who are not subscribed, please just click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to contribute something to this channel, why not buy me a coffee? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. An article in Fleet News reveals just how exposed leasing companies are to the depreciation nightmare of EVs. BVRLA warns of coming EV residual value storm. Leasing companies are staring at the horizon and not liking what they see, according to the British Vehicle Rental and Leasing Association, BVRLA. It says that there's a named storm coming, and its name is electric vehicle EV residual values. So far, leasing firms have been able to weather the impact of the 60% decline in used EV prices since 2022 by offsetting the disposal losses with the proceeds of healthy prices for end-of-contract petrol and diesel vehicles. But the BVRLA says in its latest quarterly report, this has only been possible because EVs constitute barely 10% of their defleeted vehicles. Looking ahead, EVs now represent 37% of BVRLA members' total lease fleet and 44% of new additions, with some companies already well above the 50% threshold. The concentration of EV residual value risk in the business contract hire and salary sacrifice sectors is extreme, argues the BVRLA, with leasing companies keen to see private motorists account for a greater share of the new EV market. Yes, I'm sure they would. The average CO2 emissions of the BVRLA members' total leasing fleet continues to tumble, but the disparity in EV adoption rates between business and private drivers is illustrated when those figures are broken down. Average emissions of new personal contract hire cars is more than double that of new company cars, 129.7 versus 61.3 grams per kilometre. This essentially shows how the proportion of zero-emission vehicles is massively skewed towards company cars, being pushed on fleets and business leases rather than by the choice of the consumer. Not only that, but newer models coming onto the market are making even fairly recent EVs essentially obsolete due to old technology, pushing down residuals even further. New entrant manufacturers are offering lower price models, while legacy OEMs are trying to stimulate the market to hit their ZEV mandate targets by deploying discounts that are so large they are destabilizing residual values, claims the BVRLA, creating a vicious circle whereby they need to keep increasing discounts to offset ever weaker residual values. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, SMMT, estimates that discounts have cost manufacturers £4 billion across 2024, a figure it says is unsustainable. So not only are the values of used EVs plummeting, but new cars have to be discounted even further to attract buyers, which then pushes down the value of used EVs even further. So having skewed the market with incentives and subsidies and tax breaks for new cars, the industry is now looking for similar grants or tax reductions on used EVs as well. A complete mess, and one which is inevitable when governments try to pick winners rather than letting the market decide. And of course, as we'll see later this year in the UK, all the tricks they've pulled to fudge the numbers of EVs sold in 2024 in order to meet that 22% deadline will make it far harder to reach the 28% deadline this year. Add that to all the EVs coming off leases and being sold at rock bottom prices, and we'll see carnage in the new car market, both EV and combustion. Add this to the pressures leasing companies will face as a result of that massive depreciation, and it won't just be a residual value storm that's round the corner, it will be a residual value hurricane.